It's our first episode of 2023.
Yes.
That was more of a statement than anything.
It was. There's not much to go on after.
But I think what better way to start than to look at the previous films of 2022.
Yeah, I think it's nice to do it in January because it allowed us a bit more time to catch up on the films we may have missed in 2022 and have a more comprehensive overview of the year and the best films in it.
Definitely. It's interesting that you said we had the January because I think I watched about 7 or 8 films from 2022
definitely.
in that period.
Well, I always dislike best of the year lists, which are like made early December. And you're like, you're missing out on so many films. Just give it a little bit more time so you can like catch up on the films you may have missed. But having said that, there are a few films that I want to clarify that I haven't seen yet, mostly because of UK release dates being weird. So they'll come out in like February here. So to clarify, I haven't seen The Fabelmans, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Whale, Close, Women Talking, The Quiet Girl, and Triangle of Sadness. All films are meant to be really good, but I haven't seen for whatever reason. So don't attack us if they're not in our list.
Well, it's important to get that honesty out. And I think when we talk about these films, you're definitely going to have seen a lot more than I have. But I'd like to think that I've covered kind of the main films, or when I say main films, considered the main films by a lot of articles and YouTube videos that I've seen as well, and even in popular culture. But you've obviously watched maybe more independent films, which you can definitely talk about later as well.
Hopefully between us we've seen quite a lot of films from 2022, and I think it was personally a really good year for cinema. I hate the argument that cinema's dying or there aren't any good films anymore, because that's nonsense. You're really just not looking hard enough. Like, every year has great films, and this year proved to have some wonderful ones.
And how does that compare to 2020 and 2021, which were quite affected by COVID?
Yeah, I think this has been the best year since 2019. So obviously 2020 was a strange year for films, some coming out on streaming, very little films going out into cinemas, and 2021 being a bit of a strange, limbo period as well, where some films weren't sure whether they'll come out on streaming or in the cinema. But I think this year really marked like getting people back into cinemas with great blockbusters like Top Gun: Maverick and Avatar, these massive films which just draw a massive audience. Yeah.
So let's talk about these films. We've got a top 5 list that we'll go through. I think it's the best place to start is the films we've enjoyed the most. So what's number 5 on your list?
Number 5 on my list is a film called Berger. Lesser known film. I saw it at the Leeds International Film Festival, and it's by a great Japanese director, I think, called Koreeda. And it was such a heartwarming film. Like, I think I was having quite a bad day, and I just went along to the film not knowing much about it. And it was a really heartwarming tale about a found family, really, kind of outcasts and misfits coming together in just like a beautiful way. And it's about a young mother who doesn't want her child anymore, and they're trying to sell it on the black market to like people who can't have their own kids, basically. And it's what he does with many of his films is the idea of a found family where people don't feel like they belong anywhere but come together in a nice way. It's hard to explain, but
The Leeds International Film Festival, could you talk a bit more about that and about what kind of films it allows you to see as well?
Yeah, it's mostly independent films. I try to go each year and see a couple. This year, I think I saw 3 or 4. I saw Godland and Sick of Myself as well. Yeah, and they're just really interesting films. They've got different categories for the different films. And it's just a great community of people who love to watch them, and there's awards and stuff. And it's not as big as other film festivals like Toronto or New York, but it's a nice little local one.
Bit of a tricky question to you as well. Obviously, there's a big difference between massive studio-made films in comparison to independent films. One of them mainly being budget or access to set locations, for example. I mean, I may have almost answered that question there, but what do you think are some of the main differences in terms of the actual final product of independent films in comparison to big budget?
More risk-taking, I'd say. I think with blockbuster films, they're often quite safe because they are made for the widest possible audience and are very controlled. So they've got a criteria they want to hit and a large number of people they want to please. So in that way, they try to make them as broad and as enjoyable as possible. But with independent films, it might be just targeting a very specific corner of the film community of like film nerds who like weird, crazy shit. And yeah, with independent films, they just take more risks. They're not as conventional, and they're a bit more interesting. You often don't really know what to expect, and the plot goes in weird directions.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I like the fact that it's not conventional, because I think that's been a criticism of me going to see things like in the Marvel universe, where I think I've seen this all before, or they've not taken or done anything different with it. And when I see independent films, and we saw Titan and Raw, I don't know if those fall under that category.
Yeah.
Despite me not liking aspects of that film, I love how unique and original some of the ideas were.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Even if you don't love every independent film you see, you can always come away with some appreciation that they're a bit more bold and a bit more, experimental. Because I think it is a money game, really. Blockbusters have so much money riding on them. If they had a $200 million budget, then they've got to make a lot of money to like make a profit. So they really want to get as many people into cinemas as possible. That means making a very bland, generic product.
So
why are you smiling?
No, I was just agreeing. That looked a bit evil, didn't it? I was just agreeing, and I think there's a pressure maybe on studios. It was like something out of a horror film.
You have to sort of smile slowly creep into your face.
There's a pressure on big movie studios to, as you said, kind of follow what's been before. And if you take too many risks, then it's really going to maybe shock audiences or not encourage people to go and end up losing a big chunk. Whereas if you're independent, taking risks actually is what gets you noticed in that sense. Definitely,
they're harder to market as well, but I enjoyed them.
Lovely. My number 5 was The Batman.
Oh, nice.
We've spoken about The Batman in a previous episode where we looked at all the previous Batman films, which was a lovely insight into, can't remember his name now.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. And so we've spoken about this film before. I think it was a really good cinema experience. It was released in March last year, and it was really good to see and hear the score on the full screen. I really liked the aspect of Gotham, and whilst I think I came out of it and I was a bit critical because unfortunately in my head I was comparing it to The Dark Knight too much, I think it's an absolutely brilliant film if you kind of forget the previous Batmans that have been.
Yeah, I love the film as well. It actually didn't make my list. It'd be an honourable mention, but I really loved it. Yeah, I think it really nails the character of Batman, going back to him being the world's greatest detective. A lot of the film is quite quiet and him searching for clues and more of a mind game against the Riddler rather than the typical brute strength against brute strength, which you see in the MCU. So I really like that side of it. It's a bit more dark and sinister. And again, Gotham's great. It's like captured so well. It's so grimy and it feels believable. And just great characters. I loved Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Really creepy stuff. And a nice spectacle ending, which is always good fun.
Yeah, and talking of things that are a bit original and unique, I really like some of the aspects of the film. And there's an example of a scene where I think it's Catwoman who's walking through downstairs in the Penguin's lair, and she's just got the something in her eyes so she can see, and the Batman's watching it. I think that's really, I mean, we've seen it before, but the way it was done and the tension it builds.
Yeah, great use of tension, because she has to look at people long enough to identify them.
Yeah.
And just a lot of thought that went into the presentation, and a lot more thought than a lot of the modern superhero films. Yes, my number 4 film is The Northman, which is Robert Eggers' new film. And I love Robert Eggers. His most recent film was The Lighthouse as well. And I absolutely adore that. And this is like a big Viking tale, really, where somebody's father has got murdered and he's going out for revenge. This young boy turns into a great warrior, and he's just spent his whole life trying to track down his father's murderer and, get revenge. So it's really showing how poisonous revenge is and how it leads to nothing prosperous or like fruitful in your own life. And it's quite a bitter and dark film because of that. There's some great action and great gore, just like really well made. Like the production design and the way it looks is just really believable. Some beautiful landscapes. Yeah, and just really, really well done.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. It's actually my number 4, The Northman. I actually didn't go into the film expecting too much. I didn't love The Lighthouse, and I went with my...
Damn you.
I went with some friends and ended up really enjoying it because, as you said, I think the production was so good. I love those films when you feel immersed, kind of in the location. Whilst the story I don't think was anything that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, it's not game changing by any means. It's quite generic.
Yeah, but his character was really engaging, and there was a couple of incredible fighting scenes. I think there's a 5-6 minute scene where it follows him attacking a village.
Yeah, and he catches
it's incredible.
the javelin and lobs it back.
Yeah.
It's really fun, and I think it's the sort of film that Hollywood has been like missing out on. It's a film that like audience are crying out for, because the sort of blockbusters we get nowadays are just superhero films or previous IPs. We don't really see original like big budget films that have a lot of action in. So this reminded me of stuff like Braveheart and Gladiator, where we used to get those big spectacle films that weren't tied to a franchise. And yeah, I'm just so glad it got made, and very upset that it didn't make a lot of money, which is a shame.
Wasn't too successful.
It was a massive bomb actually, but I can understand why. Like, it had a massive budget, and it is a bit more experimental and strange. Like, there is some like weird fantasy sequences with like witchcraft and like tribal rituals, which can put people off.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that, because I think there's definitely a market out there when you see the success of things like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. I know they're slightly different, but there seems to be a huge market for people interested in that kind of fantasy.
Yeah, I guess it didn't really have the star power either. Like, Alexander Skarsgård, who's the lead, isn't really a household name. And Anya Taylor-Joy is popular, but she's not enough to get people into cinemas, I'd say.
So we'll move on to our third favourite film of the year.
You go first.
Avatar 2.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I can't believe this, because I wasn't going to go see the film
I know,
again.
I saw that you waited a long time to see it. Like, I was looking at your letterbox, like, when is he going to watch Avatar? You just weren't watching it, and then suddenly I saw your score.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
You liked it.
I loved it. I really did. I had a good time. Look, I think I start by saying it's really obvious to me that the film isn't perfect. And there are a number of reasons for it. I think the story's quite weak.
The story is very weak. Yeah.
I thought the dialogue was pretty poor. I didn't even necessarily like the flow of the film. I thought it was a bit disjointed. But you forget all of that. You really do, when the visuals are as incredible as they are.
It's stunning. Yeah, absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
I literally could have watched them swim around with fish for 8 hours straight. Like, I didn't really care what the story was. I just went in wanting to see loads of weird sea creatures and wanting to see the beautiful visual effects and get immersed in Pandora once again. And he really delivered on that. I can't say I liked the story at all. Like, it never grabbed me. It never really kept me engaged, which is its biggest downfall, because it is a long film. And when I think you're that long, you need a bit more narrative beats that are interesting to keep the audience hooked in. Like, you can't just rely on spectacle for that amount of time. But I still really enjoyed the film.
I agree. And we're talking about the runtime. There's a few things I would have changed about the film. I think it takes too long. It's about 25 minute intro. And I think you could just skip that out. I don't think we needed that kind of, what's the word?
Info dump.
Yeah, just on us early on. I would have quite enjoyed it. I think we all know Avatar 1.
Well, I think there are a lot of developments that happen between the first movie and now. Like, Jake and Neytiri have several kids, and then the villain from the previous film is back. So there is a lot to go over. So I think it justifies the long intro. Like, there is a lot of info to get over. And on my first viewing, I've seen it twice. I actually missed out on a lot. Like, I was a bit confused as to who this new villain was. Like, I wasn't sure if it was the original Colonel. But on the second viewing, it was a lot clearer.
Yeah, and I think the story, it kept having the same, like, the kid gets into trouble and is put in a bit of a dangerous... Very repetitive. Like, it felt like a video game almost, in which each mission is exactly the same. Someone gets in trouble, someone needs to save them. But I don't want to spoil the film. There's a really good conclusion towards the end, which kind of shows why they were setting it up like that. And I love it when a film does that.
What did you think of the children?
Just in terms of as characters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite engaged with them.
I thought they were surprisingly decent. Like, when I saw they were doing that, like, introducing children, I was like, is it going to work? Like, kids can be very annoying, and they can... Yeah, it's hard to get good child performances. But I was really engaged. Like, I think Sigourney Weaver plays Kiri So she actually plays a 13-year-old girl, and she was definitely the best out of the kids. She was really engaging, and it seems like she's going to play a big part in the franchise. She's obviously got this connection to the, what's it called? Like the planets type, like spirit. What's it called? It's called like Awa or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Where she has this like connection to like nature and that spirituality.
And it looks like there's going to be a 3 and 4, is that right?
There's going to be a lot, I think. I think he's got about 6 films in his head. I don't think he'll stay alive for that long to do those. He's like 75.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't know.
And they take an incredibly long time to make.
I know, it was 13 years since the last one.
But yeah, as I say, I and that's a prime example of you see reviews and you speak to people and even maybe you make your own mind up on the trailer. But I still went, and I'm so glad I did to see it, because I saw it in 3D as well.
Did you see it in IMAX?
No,
just 3D.
Yeah.
I think 3D is the way to see it. It's one of those films that was made for that. Like, just swimming with the fish, it just feels like the water's coming at you almost. It was so immersive. It's incredible.
Fantastic.
My third favourite film of 2022 was All Quiet on the Western Front, which I'd say is the best war film since Dunkirk. It was really great. I'm so disappointed in myself that I didn't see it in cinemas, because it would have been great. I only saw it on Netflix at home, but even then I could just get a sense of the spectacle. Like, it feels like a big war film. Very like Oscar baity, I have to say, but it really works. It really captures like the senselessness of war and just the lives that are broken because of it. Like, it's so depressing. I felt really upset watching it, because there are a few scenes that just are heart-wrenching, and it just feels so brutal.
Is it what is it set in America? Or?
It's World War One.
Okay.
So on the Western Front, which was in France, I think. So we actually followed the German side, which was interesting, because normally I've seen war films that are on the Allied side, or as I know, the Allied side, so Britain and America. But this was actually following the Germans, which was strange. And you just see they're exactly the same. Like, they're just young men thrown into this situation. And they're not the enemy. They're just, thrown into this horrible, chaos of violence and bloodshed. And they didn't know what they were getting into. Like, you see all the beginning of them going off to war, and they're so optimistic. Like, they think they're just going on holiday and they'll come back as heroes. But they quickly realise it's not like that at all.
That's good. I had seen that was out on Netflix. I didn't know it was in the cinema, but I definitely will check it out, because I think war films, whilst I haven't enjoyed all of them, there's obviously a few that really stick out, like Saving Private Ryan, like Dunkirk. Recently watched again 1917, which I was blown away by, having not loved it beforehand. So I think there's room for definitely exploring more war films. Yeah,
it's excellent. It doesn't bring anything new necessarily to the table. Like, it's exploring the same themes, but it's done so well that I couldn't help but love it. I always love a good war film. And the score is really effective. It's got like this deep bassy sound, which is very ominous and not conventional for a war film at all.
My second film, not that controversial, Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, nice.
Talking of cinema experiences, this fits very nicely. I actually did a double bill over a weekend. Top Gun 1 on Friday, Top Gun Maverick on Saturday.
That's a lot of Top Gun.
A lot of Top Gun, but my God, I loved it.
A lot of testosterone there. Did you come out jacked? Like, yeah, I'm going to join the Navy.
Can you not tell?
Let's go.
It was just incredible, and I think that it was even better than the first one for a number of reasons. I loved the story. I loved where it explored it. I mean, you see a lot of sequels that don't put as much effort in maybe in character development or what the story's about, but I really thought it was so unique, and when they brought back Goose's son, who Tom Cruise had worked with in the first film, and there's that animosity there, and then you've got just really, really good scenes, particularly the finale as well with the mission, and Tom Cruise still smashing it despite his age. I just thought it was perfect, and having that cinema experience with just the pure sound of the airplane, it was, I've seen nothing like it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really great film. I wasn't quite on board with all the hype. Everyone seemed to adore it. And I was just like, yeah, it's good. It's a lot better than I thought it'd be. Like, when the trailer came out, I was just a bit skeptical. Like, these legacy sequels, a bit like just cash grabs normally, like with Jurassic World Dominion, bringing back the old cast. It's just a bit tired, but it really justified its existence. Like, the action scenes are spectacular. Like, how they achieved some of the shots in this film, I do not know. Like, the actors were actually in the fighter planes, which is just crazy. Like, thinking about how they'd logically do that with the sunlight. Like, you have to think about the sunlight and making that consistent when you're shooting it. And they only have a certain amount of time in the air, and if they don't get the shot, they have to go back up there all over again. And thinking about that from a logistical point of view, it just makes me feel a bit queasy. It does make me feel sick. And it is a lot more emotionally effective than you'd think as well, like, because you know the action's going to be good, but I was quite wrapped up in the tension between Maverick and Goose's son. But there were story elements that I wasn't on board with. Like, I didn't care about the romance. It was just a bit generic, but I thought it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, that's good. No, you're right about the emotion. I have to say, a lot of action films, you're not emotionally connected to characters, but I really was for this one. I would actually go so far to say it's one of my favourite sequels of all time.
Yeah, definitely.
And your number 2?
My number 2 is The Banshees of Inisherin, which I adored. I really want to see it again. I think it's just come out on Disney+. And it's a strange one because it's hilarious, but also very sad at the same time. Like, it feels very bittersweet because the main theme really is death and that kind of existential fear of not amounting to anything or not leaving any sort of legacy behind. Because Brendan Gleeson's character is starting to ruminate on death a bit and wondering what his life has come to and if he's making the best use of his time. Like, what is he going to leave behind? And he feels like his relationship with this kind of dim-witted friend, Colin Farrell, is just kind of not bringing anything to his life, and it isn't worth his time. He needs to spend his time making music or creating stuff that is going to last for years to come. So it's a really, like, strange, like, philosophical question. Like, should you just be one of life's nice guys and just talk to people and have a good time, or should you try and leave some sort of legacy and be very determined about doing that? And it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also thought that it explored the idea of, so Colin Farrell was obviously going through the idea of not having someone in your life, even though that person's there. So he kind of didn't know how to respond to it. And I did enjoy the film. It was a light film, but with a very dark undertone. And I loved the way they conversed. It leaves you hanging on to every word of the conversation.
The writing is absolutely incredible. Like, Mark McDonagh has to be one of my favourite screenwriters. Like, he wrote In Bruges and 3 Billboards. And it's my favourite sort of comedy, like black comedy, where you don't know whether to cry or laugh. It's just really dark, but also hilarious. Like, it's so snappy, the dialogue, like, it doesn't miss a beat. It's just great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think it makes me want to go and explore In Bruges.
Yeah, and it's got an adorable donkey in it as well. I really love the donkey.
Set in a lovely location up in, where was it?
Ireland,
yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeously shot. It's just very well made film. And I think we've got the same number 1.
Most likely.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh yeah. So good. Yeah.
Incredible. I don't know what I can say about it.
I'd have to say something. You've got a film podcast. Go on.
It just blew me away. It really did. And I think the thing is, I don't want to hype it up too much because I went into it not expecting too much.
Like, it's very existential, and it was there for me in a really interesting place in my life where I was questioning all these things and having these thoughts a lot. And it felt like the movie was almost like speaking to me. It felt so personal to me, and it was really important, in that time of my life. Yeah,
I can imagine. And it's so emotional. Like, there's a period of 5-10 minutes where you can cry multiple times through it because there's just the emotional impact of the relationship between the mother and realising what she has. I think a lot of the film as well is about gratitude. And she's got everything there that she loves, and it makes you, after that film, you kind of want to take every single moment and you want to live in every single moment and make the most of everything. It makes
you appreciate things more. I'm surprised Nope isn't in your top 5. Did you forget to put it in?
No. I think on reflection, Nope isn't that good.
It's a great film.
It's a great film. It's just not.
I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think it's probably an 8. It's a good cinema experience, and I think I was quite biased because Jordan Peele's other 2 films, Get Out and Us, were phenomenal, and I think I just wanted to love this film no matter what.
Have you rewatched it since?
No, I will watch it, but
it's definitely better than Us.
Oh, okay.
100%, yeah.
Okay, I just didn't feel it was as tight, but at the same time, there was a lot of cool and interesting things that, and I like the idea of. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but in terms of what they did with the alien, and
yeah, I was well expecting that to be in the top 5. But...
honourable mention.
Yeah, some other honourable mentions for me is Decision to Leave, Park Chan-wook's new film, which is great, and Tar as well, Babylon, really great, Bones and All. Yeah, a lot of great films.
Shows how good the year's been, as you said. Now let's move on to something slightly more negative. The worst film.
Yes, there were some stinkers, as there always are.
What do you think it was?
My least favourite film was Blonde, which is the Marilyn Monroe biopic on Netflix, which I thought was gross, just like really exploitative. Like the whole film is about how Marilyn Monroe was kind of exploited for her sexuality and just used by the people around her, whilst the film is the most egregious depiction of her. All she's seen doing is pleasing people sexually and just getting shit on at every moment, and she doesn't get any redemption in the film whatsoever. It doesn't shine a light on any of her achievements, in which she had many, or any of her like great attributes. It's just a very negative and depressing film that's just horribly, misguided. I really didn't like it.
Has that happened before when films have done that, maybe to someone that's famous, or they're trying to do a biopic of some sort
and paint them in a negative light?
Or something that's a bit exploitative?
I guess not that common. Like with these biopics, they're always kind of sucking the person off, really, aren't they? Like kissing their ass, like you see it with Bohemian Rhapsody and like Elvis, when they're like a little bit on the negative side of them, but it really is putting their achievements to the forefront. But with this one, it really was just kicking Marilyn while she was down, and I really felt bad for her, even though she's dead. She's probably turning in the grave. Yeah, and there's a lot of aspect ratio changes, like every 2 minutes the aspect ratio changes and the colour grade changes. Like, it just feels like the director had a massive ego. And it's bold, it's like interesting, but I really didn't enjoy it. No way.
My worst film of the year, easily Moonfall.
Moonfall, I forgot you saw that.
I can't believe it. I actually didn't see it in cinemas, and I'm so glad I didn't, because
I know you wanted to see that. I remember you saying when it was coming out, shall we see Moonfall? I was like, no.
Terrible.
No, thank you.
So it's directed by Roland Emmerich, who actually has done really fun films in the past, of 2012 and Day After Tomorrow. And there's a film I also love, I think directed by someone else, called Greenland. Now, these are all films that are based off kind of the end of the world, basically. There's something happening. In Day After Tomorrow, I think there was another ice age. In 2012, the whole world was ending. So you had, whether it was kind of meteors or whether it was literally the ground just getting torn apart. And it was a fantastic action. And to be honest, in both of those films, there was interesting characters. We followed their story. In Moonfall, there is nothing. There is nothing to go off of. It starts off in space, and it's something very akin to Gravity. I don't know if you've seen that, where they're up in space, almost like literally the same as Gravity, and then something happens, and the ship gets destroyed. And then 10 years later, you follow a guy, the same actor that's in a lot of these horror films, such as Inception.
What's his name?
And Sinister, I think. Not Sinister.
Patrick
Wilson.
Patrick Wilson. Yeah.
Who?
I like Patrick Wilson.
He's okay, but
he's
he doesn't, as a lead in an action role.
Action star, isn't he?
No.
He's a bit of a nerdy guy.
And I think you've also got Halle Berry
in
the film, and the guy from Game of Thrones who plays Samwell Tarly.
Yep.
So again, not the most amazing cast, but they're not the problem. The issue is just the writing. It's horrendous for me, and it's something to do. The plot roughly situates on the idea that the moon is falling.
I got that from the title.
And it's not really explained how or why or what's going to happen.
Isn't there some like weird, like nanobot parasite in the moon?
Yeah, well,
some weird black goop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
You can't really spoil Moonfall.
No.
Who cares?
I wouldn't advise anyone to watch it because usually it's something like, oh, it's so bad, it's good.
You think it'd be cheesy fun, in the very least. It's not meant to be...
cheesy. The moon.
That was a bit of a stretch. But you don't expect it to be Oscar caliber, but you want it to be fun. Like, 2012 was a lot of fun, even though it's crap. But, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't... And the Samuel Tarly's character is actually like a conspiracy theorist that believes in megastructures. So he believes that the moon is a megastructure, and we don't really know what that means. But they fly up in a spaceship and try and stop the moon.
How do they get into the spaceship?
With NASA. NASA contacts them.
All right. Just these random guys with no training.
Yeah.
As astronauts.
Yeah.
Go up to the moon, see what's happening.
Spot on. And as I say, like, 2012 has its issues whereby you're watching the complete destruction and maybe you don't care about it a lot, but it's fun. It's incredible.
You get what you want, don't you?
Yeah, and then 10 years later, you have a film that is not as good, and the special effects are terrible as well.
It's the most expensive independent film ever made, apparently. So it wasn't studio backed. Like, I think he just went around influential people with a lot of money and just begged them for a bit of funding. So it totally flopped at the box office. Nobody saw it.
Such a disappointment, because there is something there. A moon falling, there's something there to latch onto and think, I could make a good film.
Have fun with it, just totally go out with it. And,
very, very bland, very boring, which you wouldn't assume either.
Yeah, the one thing you don't want it to be is boring, like Moonfall. How do you make that boring? I don't know.
And I'll tell you who was lucky that Moonfall came out. Jurassic World Dominion were very lucky that Moonfall came out.
You saw that stinker as well.
Yeah.
I missed both of those.
Oh, you missed Jurassic World.
I knew that would be crap though. I think you were quite looking forward to it.
There was part of me that just thought, what if? Because I quite liked Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom was terrible, but I just thought maybe they could bring it back.
When I saw the trailer, I was like, this is going to be bad. So I just missed it. But was there something in that trailer that appealed to you? Just seeing dinosaurs wreak havoc on the world.
Yeah, well, I thought if...
There's appeal to that,
Yeah, I thought if... So the way that number 2 ends is in Fallen Kingdom, you see dinosaurs kind of on Earth. Sorry, not on Earth, but just kind of, because they're already on Earth, but just kind of like in human habitats, for example, in the desert. Yeah. And then the film starts off with that, which is quite fun. You see Chris Pratt on a horse chasing down a dinosaur, so on a pack of horses. Mm-hmm. And I thought it'd be fantastic if they had a film that explored how dinosaurs have kind of evolved and adapted to live with humans and animals. Yeah. Fantastic. But in the first 5 minutes, we see dinosaurs in zoos. We see dinosaurs like already fitted in. I would have loved to have seen that transition.
You want to see the development.
Exactly.
Not just cut to 5 years later.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are living quite near a pack of velociraptors as well. And then the film is just so messy. It focuses, one of its main kind of plot themes is focusing on locusts, which has nothing to do with dinosaurs. Yeah. You've got the reintroduction of old characters who it's amazing to see them, and I feel incredibly sorry for them because I think they would have really thrived in a good
Why do you feel sorry for them? Like the amount of money they must have gotten for that film.
Yeah.
And all they want to do is like turn up for a day, say a few lines and get off. They've got a great deal.
If they're anything like Mark Hamill though, they would have been a bit disappointed in what it's turned out to be.
Yeah, they probably would have expected a bit more.
And it was just, the whole kind of film was seeing, and again, kids would have loved this, every 10 minutes, it's similar to the Avatar scenario, characters get in a bad situation, dinosaurs are there, characters get out of that situation. And you see loads of different dinosaurs. That's a nice thing to see, but you don't care about it at all, and it's just such a sloppy
Well, I don't think that narratively is a bad thing, because Jurassic Park pretty much was that, wasn't it? Like, just very contained and tense, like, there's a dinosaur, we need to escape the dinosaur. Like, that basically was the story. But it's because it was executed so well by Spielberg that you're totally in it. Like, if it's just bland CGI, then it doesn't, who cares?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Chris Pratt at the moment as well? Because to me, he's just gotten so bland. Like, I used to love him in Parks and Rec and Guardians, but if I see Chris Pratt on a movie poster now, I'm just totally a turn off because he's boring.
Yeah. No, I'd probably agree with you. I think I loved him in Guardians of the Galaxy and those films. I think even in the Avengers Infinity War, he had great. He was great with Thor. He's not been fantastic in Jurassic World, and actually Dominion, everyone was pretty poor, including him. He's extremely bland, as you said. Has he been? So he's been in Passengers and a few other films as well.
Yeah, he kind of feels more like a product nowadays, like a bit like Ryan Reynolds, where they're less of an interesting actor, and it's just a corporate product that they can kind of fit into any sort of movie. Like he's the new voice of Mario, and it's just like, why? Like apparently his voice sounds awful on the trailer, so it's just kind of shoving Chris Pratt into anything you can.
Yeah, and he's not had the best reputation, has he? For his past as well.
Yeah, I don't know. He's quite Christian, isn't he?
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know much about that, so I can't really speak on it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So we've got our most disappointing films there, and sorry, that was our worst one. Mm. So this is quite. The next category is quite similar to worst film. It's a disappointing film, but we'll try and
almost as bad as worst.
Yeah,
you're looking forward to it so much. When the films are let down, it's like a sucker punch to the groin.
Can't relate. I think I've probably already gone with mine with Jurassic World Dominion. Mm-hmm. I might add that Turning Red was very disappointing.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's a Pixar film, and I think you hold Pixar films in such high esteem. And then I really disliked it. I can't fully work out why, but it was just too. It was too in your face. It was too cartoony and
it's very over the top.
Yeah,
it's very much inspired by anime, and I think the characters, like the little children, are very like zany, like anime characters, and they kind of move about very fast and talk fast. And it can get quite irritating very quickly. But I didn't dislike it as much as you. Like I found good parts about it, but it's not top tier Pixar, is it? Yeah, my most disappointing film was Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah, I was really disappointed with this one because I adored Thor Ragnarok. And it's the same director in Taika Waititi. I saw the new trailer and I thought, yeah, this looks the same sort of vibe, like really comedic, really funny, vibrant, like taking on the 80s aesthetic this time. So I was really looking forward to it, but I hated it. I think the comedy just really doesn't work this time around. Like it feels like it's trying so hard to be funny, but just fails miserably. Like it's got sort of jokes where they have screaming goats at one point. Like there's just goats that scream really loudly. That's what it's trying to pass off as comedy. And it's just a real misfire. Like it's juggling too many tones as well, because Natalie Portman's character is dying of cancer. In the same film where they have screaming goats and Russell Crowe as Zeus, just like hamming it up. And it's like, what are you trying to do here? The CGI is really bad at points. Like there's this scene where one of the kids of Asgard, his like face pops up like talk to Thor and it looks abysmal. You should search it up. It looks awful. And yeah, Christian Bale isn't used very well as a villain. It was just a flat experience, just pretty bad for Marvel.
Indicative of quite a few of Marvel's releases.
Yeah, most people seem to share my opinion, but I had a few friends who really liked it, so who knows?
What's your take? And I've seen this with a couple of YouTube channels who have looked at the kind of male characters or heroes or legends and the way they're being portrayed in recent years in kind of big blockbuster movies. Not something like Top Gun, for example, but it's particularly happening in Marvel. So, for example, you've got Thor, who over the films has seemed to become kind of even more goofier and maybe not the god that you expected to me. And I think in this film in particular, there's a scene of Zeus removing his clothes or something, and then everyone laughs around him, kind of making him even less masculine than before. Do you have any issue? I don't know really where I stand. I've just kind of heard some of these things in the media, but do you have any opinion on that, or do you think it even matters?
Is it more the representation of masculinity on the screen?
Possibly, yeah.
Because there's a real debate or discussion about masculinity in the modern day, in that like there's a whole thing that people label everything as toxically masculine, and men don't feel like they've got an outlet to kind of be masculine and enjoy being tough or strong. And I think it's kind of demonstrated in a lot of the blockbusters when the male characters seem to be more vulnerable and soft and more comedic than typically like muscle bound and courageous and heroic. Those typical like masculine traits. So it's interesting to see how that's represented on screen. And I think you can see it in Thor. Like in those early films, even though I dislike them a lot, he is kind of like this epic, heroic character who's like to be feared, but as you go through the films, he just kind of turns into a goofball and he's not as respected or admired as much. So yeah, there's something to be said about that. I don't really know where I stand on it. I don't have much of an opinion. I know there is a discussion going on about masculinity in the modern day.
Yeah.
And where men stand.
I think something like Avatar 2 does a good job because a lot of kind of what he was talking about was being a father and supporting your family, supporting the tribe that he was in, making sure everyone's safe. And even, I like the way he was talking to his kids about that and saying to the son how important it is to take responsibility and look after your family as well. So, and it's interesting, you kind of listen to that but you don't see that as maybe a narrative in some of the other films you see.
No. Well, I think Disney have a real trend of being woke at the moment. And Marvel falls under Disney. So I think they've been trying so hard to be really comedic at the moment. Like, stuff like She-Hulk is really like girl boss, and like the men are just stupid. I know that's a very simplistic way of viewing it, but I know there are a lot of jokes in She-Hulk, which is just kind of dissing the Avengers. Like, who are these rich billionaires? Like, just kind of dissing the men in it. So it is a weird one. It's a very hot topic at the moment, so whatever you say, you'll probably get into trouble. So I'm not going to go into too much detail.
We'll leave it at that.
Get some nasty comments.
My most surprising film of the year was a film called The Outfit.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Oh nice. It was a lovely watch. It was kind of like watching a theatre performance because it was all set in one room. The actor, I can't remember his name now.
Mark Rylance.
Yeah, and apparently he's been quite big. He's quite
very respected.
Yeah, an English actor. And no, I loved as I say, it was much like seeing a play where you had, it almost felt like you had different acts and characters.
Felt a lot like The Hateful Eight in that sense.
That's true.
There's very contained location, very isolated, and just like this tension rising in the room almost, yeah.
Yeah, and the key to that was not only the characters, but again, the dialogue. And it makes such a difference because you do see a lot of things on TV that maybe aren't dialogue focused and rely on action. Yeah. But this film, the beauty of it was the way they were interacting with each other and the tension built up was fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of twists and suspense. Yeah, I thought it was fine. I didn't love it, but it's a nice little film. Like, I watched it on TV. I don't think it's a film that I regret not seeing in cinemas. Like, it's quite small scale. But yeah, it's nice to see a film like that. Yeah.
What was your most surprising?
My most surprising was Top Gun. We've already talked a lot about it, so I don't really want to get into details. But as I was saying, like, when I first saw that trailer, I was just dreading it. I was just like, what is this? Like, such a cash grab, whatever. Then I started seeing the reviews coming in. I was like, what? Is this meant to be good? And then I saw it in cinemas, and I was really impressed. Really enjoyed it. Impressed by how much effort they put into the action and how it was presented and how much emotional weight it actually had. I was actually finding myself getting wrapped up in it, even though I'm not a massive action movie fan. But yeah, really surprising.
Yeah. And what do you think was the best male performance?
I'd say Barry Keoghan in Banshees of Inisherin. I think he's a phenomenal actor. He's such a little weirdo. I loved him in like The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and he has a small role in Dunkirk. And in this, he's strange because you feel really sympathetic for him. Like, he's got some sort of learning disability, it's kind of presented as, but he's really funny. Like, he's got a sharp tongue and he kind of irritates everyone around him. Really entertaining character. And he's so convincing because I've seen him in loads of films now, but he totally transforms into this character. Like, the way he has little tics and little ways he like talks and little dialect things. yeah, it just feels like he put a lot of work into this character. And I hope he gets the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, nice.
Which he's been nominated for, which I was so glad to see.
Wow. So even though you've got two really big stars, he still is noticeably very good in his role.
Yeah, I think all three of them got acting nominations, as well as Kerry Condon, who is Best Supporting Actress, I think. Yeah.
Wow. I can see why. And I love that idea of, because a few years ago I would have said, some of my favourite actors might be someone like Ryan Gosling or Tom Hanks. But I think as you watch more films, part of what makes an actor so good is the fact that they can completely transform.
Like a chameleon.
Yeah, and you definitely see that. And there's nothing against Tom Hanks at all, because I think he does a good job of that as well. But we've spoken about how sometimes he plays a similar role.
He's a bit showy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an actor, and it's really big and wants to light up the screen.
Yeah.
But I love the performance that is a bit more subtler and understated. And you kind of read into a lot of the character just through little facial expressions.
Definitely.
Like, they don't have to do that big Oscar moment. Do you know when they show the clips in front of the Oscars where people are like really shouting and there's snot running down their face? That doesn't bother me as much. I kind of like the little creep in the corner, like Barry Keoghan.
Yeah, definitely. And the actors that kind of, whether it's even, transforming their bodies or what they do, as you mentioned, the little tics. So if it's Kristen Bell or Daniel Day-Lewis, who's been completely different in other films, almost unrecognisable. I think there was even Colin Farrell, for example, in The Penguin was, I don't know if that was because aesthetically he looked different, but he was completely
it's a lot of
different.
transformation.
Yeah. So it's good to see that.
He's had a really good year, Colin Farrell. Like Banshees of Inisherin and The Batman.
Yeah.
Like, really good year for him.
Lovely. I would say my favourite male performance is Keoghan Quan from Everything Everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I actually did watch a few videos of him, and he won a Best Supporting Actor in the Golden Globes.
Mm-hmm.
And have you seen his speech?
No.
It's unbelievably heartwarming, and in an era, I think, where people become disconnected from Hollywood actors a lot of the time because they feel they're quite preachy or trying to preach certain things when in their speech. He just seems so genuine. He was talking about the fact that he'd been out of acting for 30 years. He'd been in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he shot around, didn't he?
Yeah, and then Goonies. And then working in that production field. And I think he basically quit acting for a long period of time until the Daniels got in contact with him and he auditioned for this role. And he just said how much has changed his life. And then he went on to thank everyone. But there was something real genuine about him. And he just seemed exactly like he was in the film. Just you were so connected to him by the way he comes across. So I think it's very. And in the film, again, the main focus I would say is on Michelle Yeoh's character, but the emotional attachment that had was due to he said a line in the film saying, "No matter who I'd be, I'd have always loved to have just been running a laundry shop with you."
That
I've
is
got
the
goosebumps
essence
now.
of the film, isn't it? Yeah. The whole idea that you don't need to be famous or obscenely wealthy to have happiness. It's just the small things in life. And he is the emotional rock of the film. Like, he explains in the film that he's got his own way of dealing with existential despair. Like, he just likes to goof around and find those little bits of joy in life. And he just feels so earnest and relatable. Yeah, and I loved his performance as well.
Yeah. I think honourable mention for me would be Brian and Charles. Charles, have you seen that film?
I haven't seen that.
I only watched it because I love the main actor who's in Derek and Afterlife. And if you've seen those programs, he's I can't remember his name actually, but he's got black long hair and he always plays a bit of a weird character, but makes things very uncomfortable. And he played the lead role in a film about he was an inventor and he made a robot, and it's such a wholesome film. I would definitely recommend you watch it. He just plays a really nice character, and it's something he wasn't really an actor or nothing of big note before Afterlife and Derek. So it's great to see that he's led a feature film.
Yeah, it's great to see that. Yeah. My favourite female performance was Cate Blanchett in Tar. I think you hadn't heard of Tar until today, but it's getting a lot of buzz, especially for her performance. She's most likely going to win the Oscar, and deservedly so. Like, she plays a composer of the Berlin Orchestra, and she's kind of this massive figure in music. Like, she's won every award there possibly is. She's like mega successful. And the film starts off with an interview with a New Yorker journalist who basically just gushes over her how brilliant she is. And throughout the film, she carries herself with such pose, and like she feels so refined, and everything is in her control. But as the film goes on, she kind of loses control of her life, and it all comes crashing down because of some past allegations and some seedy stuff she's been involved with. And Cate Blanchett's magnificent. Like, she's so cold. Like, you feel no warmth towards her whatsoever. She's got like this kind of quiet intensity about her, and she's brilliant. And she actually learned how to conduct an orchestra for the film. Like, you see her conducting the Berlin Orchestra, and she's actually doing that. Like, the music you hear in the film is her conducting. And the amount of dedication that takes is phenomenal, yeah.
And what's Cate Blanchett been in?
Loads of stuff. Like, she's been in hundreds of films. I think she's the highest grossing actress of all time. So she's been in the Lord of the Rings films. She was Galadriel, I think.
Yeah.
And Thor Ragnarok, The Aviator, Blue Jasmine. Like, the list goes on. Like, she's been in loads. Really great actress.
And I should definitely watch Tar.
Definitely.
My honourable mention for this would be Anna Taylor-Joy in The Menu, who I thought she was really good.
Yeah.
I've not actually seen The Queen's Gambit, which a lot of people know her from.
I love Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, she was really solid. I really disliked Nicholas Hoult, and I know
I
was probably meant to dislike him anyway, but I just didn't like him as a...
I liked his performance a lot. I thought
Really?
he was great. I think he worked really well.
Yeah, I didn't love the film in the end. I think we discussed it. I struggle with films that don't have like an overarching tone and that kind of merge all into one. Like,
that's exactly what I like.
Because at one point it was comedy, but then it went into horror, and I wish that it committed to horror rather than have the comedic moments.
You feel like the comedy took away from it?
I think it took away from the seriousness. It got silly for me.
For a film, I like to have like a blender. You put all the different genres and tones and stuff and just like mix it up. Like, that's what I enjoy. But I understand why you wouldn't like that. Because it is a strange film. Like, there are parts that are really horrific, and then laugh out loud moments. And then when they combine the two, it's just brilliant. I love the scene. I don't want to spoil it, but they encourage Nicholas Hoult to cook something for them all. Because he's such a big foodie. They're like, if you know all this knowledge about like food, why don't you cook us something? And he totally fumbles over it, and it's a brilliant scene.
My favourite female performance would be Michelle Yeoh. Same film, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Anyone would think you like that film.
I couldn't look any further really. Again, I didn't know her going into the film, and she just was absolutely brilliant. Even the other woman in the film was fantastic.
Stephanie Hishu, I think she's called.
Oh no, the one.
Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
Yeah. She's up for an Oscar as well.
There we go. There's they all did such a terrific job, and that might be because of the script and the writing as well. But I was really impressed.
It's such a weird film that demands a lot of you as well. Yeah, Michelle Yeoh's performance is so great. She's got a background in martial arts, so she's in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and she really brings that aspect to the table. Like, there are a lot of fight scenes which I think she was involved with, like the choreography. So she brings that side to her performance, and I agree, really great performance. So yeah, I think we've covered everything we need to on 2022 films. Yeah, good episode.
Yeah, you've shown me it's been a fantastic year. So I'm glad that we've gone through, and it's inspired me to watch a few more and look forward to the films in 2023.
Yeah, roll on 2023.